Hello again. Following a public outcry, Dr. Demaio is back at work. He was suspended with the hospital citing his engagement with the media, among other reasons. The pediatrician at the Rahima Moosa Mother and Child Hospital penned an open letter published in the Daily Maverick in which he detailed the poor state of affairs in public health care. For more on this, we're joined by Dr. Aslam Dasoo from the Progressive Health Forum. He's the convener. Thank you very much for always availing yourself. Dr. Dasoo, this decision to have him back at work, a welcome move?
Certainly welcome, especially for the patients who were put at extreme risk, because he's the only pediatric gastroenterologist at Rahima Moosa Hospital, and he runs a specialized unit. And of course, he's being suspended meant those patients would have had to be allocated to other doctors, and where there isn't that specialization. So this is very welcome from a patient care perspective.
Just on that specialization, just how many doctors actually do what he does? Could we have afforded to lose him?
Absolutely not. I think it's less than 10 in the whole country. And it's a real worry because, gastroenterology in children is a huge field. And so our human resource provisioning around specializations, especially in the public sector, is an ongoing problem.
Dr. Dasoo, if we just take a look at his article, which is titled, "How do you manage to come to work every day, fail at your job of ensuring basic health care for the people you serve, and still sleep at night?" He asked some pertinent questions relating to how some of the issues like a lack of electricity impacts the work of the hospital. For instance, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, they do that by mobile phone torches because power keeps on failing, or a cold neonate whose incubator went off with the loss of power, or explaining to parents where they have to have, a child has to have brain surgery, that the scanner doesn't work. It hasn't been working for 3 months. When we take a look at some of the issues that he was actually bemoaning, a desperate cry for help?
Certainly. And I think we need to understand that health workers accept that they work by the rules, and that when there's a problem, the interface with the administration is meant to resolve the problem. The fact that Dr. Demaio had to go public, and he states that he tried everything to get them to actually provision this hospital, major facility in the most industrialized city on the continent, which operates worse than a facility you'll find in some backwater somewhere. He had to go public with this. And I think it reflects the moral injury that healthcare workers face when their ethical framework and their professional remit is so heavily undermined by the failure to provide basic provisions so that they can conduct their care. I think it's important to understand that this debacle of suspending him was an act of petty bureaucratic vengeance against him for speaking up. And it also channels the feelings and the views of thousands of health workers, especially in our public service, who are so poorly served by the authorities. And this particular department, for a department that has visited on us serial disasters over the years, for it to now go and take this petty officialdom practice to this level is really shocking. It shows a lack of leadership, and we also have it on good authority that the Premier was kept out of this loop, so was the head of department. The fact that the MEC went there today, and I've read her statement or the statement of the department stating that her intervention has resolved the matter. I think we must accept that this follows on a huge outcry right across the country from various medical sectors, from civil society and so on, and that they were forced to do this. If this outcry did not occur, Dr. Demaio's suspension would have continued. And I think this is the main lesson here. Health workers have no reason to remain quiet anymore. They must speak up. because their ethical duty demands it of them. And really they have nothing to fear, because the ability of bureaucrats now to act punitively against them has been shown up for what it is, hollow. And I'm very pleased that this reinstatement has occurred, and I'm very relieved. But it's a singular lesson for the political establishment about the fact that their systems of governance are broken, and because it's affecting a vital service like healthcare.
The serial disasters you refer to, Dr. Dasoo, Dr. Demaio actually details this in the one line where he says, you should be worried, and this is about lawyers who are waiting in the wings, or greedy lawyers as he terms them, who are waiting in the wings for the department to pay negligence lawsuit compensations instead of them preventing the problem in the first place. You speak also of people in the health fraternity standing up. What is it then that the everyday South African can do to help here, because this touches on every single person's lives?
Sure. I think first show solidarity with the patients and the health workers by making your voice heard to the political authorities, by the political authorities. I think that's what people can do and should do. You know, when last year there was no water at Rahima Moosa and Helen Joseph, two major institutions. This on the back of the fire at Charlotte Matreke, one hospital which they still haven't been able to sort out. Created such a crisis. They couldn't even provide the resources to drill a borehole. It took a charitable organization, the Gift of the Givers, to come after weeks of problems in 2 days to sort the problem out. Now, what are these people doing in this provincial department if they can't even do that? So I think it's a question that goes to the heart of our political system, here in the province particularly, but I'm sure this is replicated in other provinces as well. And I think it's time. It's time not just for the health workers to make their voices heard. They should do so fearlessly in defense of their ethics, in defense of their patients, but people must stand now up with them in solidarity and do the same.
Dr. Demaio also poses questions to the relevant health authorities, and this simple one caught my attention. He asks, would you admit your child to this hospital? Then we hear the argument of NHI and how this is supposed to be the solution for South Africa's health care, if you will, making it accessible to everybody, whether in private or public, and we're all going to have this ideally or ideal health system that works. What does this then do when you read this kind of detail to people who are thinking, well, will NHI even work for South Africa?
Well, I think you've put it very well, and I think it demonstrates a grand hypocrisy here. 95% of public facilities, as determined by the Office of Health Standards Compliance, cannot be accredited for NHI. 95%. And this has been the result of 20 years of neglect and decrepitude in the management. So how are we going to fix that is beyond me. But second, the point about whether public servants should be forced to send their children to, or themselves or their relatives, to public facilities, yes, that's a good populist statement, but I wouldn't wish that on their families and on their children if they are going to be put in facilities such as Dr. Demaio's facility, which is so poorly provisioned. And so I think we must be mature about this, and we must say categorically that until your public health services are to a standard that you are willing to send your child to, you should be doing everything you can to ensure that the facilities are up to scratch. They have no capability, or they've demonstrated no capability of doing that. And I think this incoherence is leading to a great deal of unhappiness, not just among health workers, but it's also causing harm to people. It's physical harm. I mean, the Life Esidimeni debacle should have told us everything about how not to run a health system. It's been years. We've done nothing to fix it. This health department has just appointed its new head of department after being rudderless for years. And I don't understand how the political establishment can actually stand in front of all of us and say, well, the MEC has gone and sorted it out by his reinstatement. It's facile and it's mendacious, and we shouldn't accept it.
Dr. Aslam Dasoo is with the Progressive Health Forum. He's the convener. Thank you very much for helping us make sense of the reinstatement of pediatrician Dr. Demaio, who was suspended following his open letter to the health department. You can find that on the Daily Maverick. That's online.